Hello, hello. Hello everybody. I'm just going to start having a little bit of a chat. I know obviously you're all eating your dinner and stuff as well, so we don't want to disturb that. I'd just like to introduce myself. My name's Richard Milky Quail. I might have seen a few of you have been maybe before. I do a little chat show here every year, just in aid of Seamus and Bomber. And so just, yeah, I hope you're all having a good time. I hope you didn't get washed out too much last night. And I hope none of you has bought a Chinese tent. Did any of you buy a Chinese tent by any chance? Is he still sleeping in it or not?
He used to be there.
Right then, well he's the man that's got wet last night then. But yeah, hopefully you survived it last night. And I think we've had the worst of the weather now. And I think now, going forward, we're going to get some decent weather. Obviously some decent racing now, tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. So yeah, so basically I'd like to introduce the lads that have come along to say hello to you tonight. I feel a bit like a teacher really, a school teacher, because ultimately when you come to the TT, I basically teach all the newcomers. So you have to go through me and another lad called Johnny Barton. We basically work with the lads over the winter and try and show them where to be, where to go, how to go, and keep safe basically, and safe and fast, and enjoy it, get the most out of it. So
we have to do the opposite and then it all goes well.
Yeah, I mean,
I can have a go.
So obviously, we've got little Joey Thompson here on the right hand side. I keep saying little Joey, sorry mate. So we've got Joey Thompson here on the right hand side. How old are you, Joey? 18 is it? 18, 19. Joey's only 19 years of age, and he's come to do the TT for the first year this year. And obviously he had his first race yesterday. And when he finished 34. Joey's there again. This is his first year. We've got Adam Mclean here as well, another newcomer this year. Again, Adam's only a young fella. Oh, you Adam, 24, 21. So, again, Adam had a good race there yesterday. You know, had a good finish. What did you finish, mate? 18th position. The lads have done really well. I've been working with these lads since about September last year, really. So everyone thinks as a newcomer you just rock up here and just set off down Bray Hill and turn right and hopefully get round the rest and come back to the grandstand. But you know, these lads have really worked hard through the winter. They've knuckled down, watched the DVDs. They've been over a few. How many weekends have you been over, Joe? About 12 weekends he's been over, coming over, driving around, learning the track. And it's just literally that's what you've got to do now to get up, because obviously you've got the likes of Peter here. I should have introduced Peter Hickman as well. And again, Peter was one of my newcomers maybe 4 years ago, was it?
Yeah, this is my 4th year.
Yeah, 4 years ago, Peter holds the thing of being the fastest ever newcomer. 129 miles an hour, was it? Yeah. Yeah, 29.1. So that was Peter's first year. Peter was obviously on 1,000. These lads are on 600s. So there's a little bit of a disparity there. But again, I'm not interested in the speeds in the first year. I think a lot of emphasis gets put on these lads. A lot of pressure gets put on these lads to be, you've got to be fast. I don't care where you finish, what speed you do, as long as you qualify, you get round, you get all your laps in, and go home nice and safe. And again, they are the future of the event. You know, these lads here, young lads, they are the future. That, you know, in 5 years' time, hopefully the boys are standing on top of the podium spraying champagne. In Peter's case, you're standing spraying champagne this week. so you know, these lads are the future, and you know, they've got a big career in front of them. The big thing is with TT racing, you don't have to be 18 years old, and if you're over 25, you're past it. You know, you can really keep going on and on and on for years and years at this job. So yeah, so the lads have done a really, really good job, and you know, I just wish them all the best, and you know, obviously they're good lads, and we can keep going. So what we'll do is we'll just pass over to Joey and just get his experiences of his first ever TT, really.
Something like putting you on the spot.
Yeah. I'll say spot on me, doesn't it? So Joey, you know, how do you feel after, you know, obviously you've been working through the winter and stuff, and you finally got to ride the track? What do you think about it?
Yeah, well, we've done, you know, loads and loads of laps over winter with Milky and with Johnny, and also with Ian Locker, who's the team that I'm riding for this year. So yeah, we've done lots of laps, watching the onboards as much as I can. They get boring after a while, but you just got to keep sitting there and watching them. But yeah, once you actually go down rail and set off, it's everything that you've done. It just all sort of clicks into place, and you know where whoever you're watching the onboard of braking, and obviously you're quite a way back from that as only been a newcomer, but you just keep improving and chipping away and just getting better and better.
Joey, what was the hardest thing you found was different from, obviously Joey does BSB, rides Scarborough and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if anyone saw it. There's a good picture of Joey at Scarborough going around with his elbow down at Scarborough. He's got his elbow on the ground at Scarborough. It's like, oh my God, that's impressive. But yeah, so what was the hardest thing that you found with the TT over anywhere else you've raced?
I mean, there's a few of the corners that are really difficult compared to what you used to, but the main thing is trying to adapt your style from the short circuits, where you're braking as late as you can, getting it stopped and firing out of the corners, to actually focusing on 3 corners ahead and sacrificing your speed around one corner to get around the next corner a lot faster.
I mean, the thing is with the newcomer, obviously everyone starts at different levels. Peter, for instance, his dad did the Manx Grand Prix. He won the Manx Grand Prix, didn't he? So Peter's obviously been here from a little boy, I suppose, were you, Pete?
It came when I was...
Yeah, it came when I was real small, but not when my dad was racing. I'm not that old. My dad won in '78, I think. So he won a 250 Manx Grand Prix. He did do a couple of TTs as well, on a Jower actually, of all things. But yeah, I came here as a little kid. I must have only been about 2 years old. So other than that, I didn't actually come back until 2013. So I kind of enjoyed watching John McGuinness. That was kind of the person that I was looking up to. I get on with John really well. I like his attitude towards not only racing but life. He kind of does what he wants. He says what he wants, and he enjoys himself. And I think that's the big thing in life in general, and that kind of then applies to racing as well, because at the end of the day, racing is life. So it is when you're a racer anyway. It becomes your life, and yeah. So I kind of watched John over the kind of 2011, 12, 13. Came here in 13 as an adult, if you like, as by myself, to come and watch, and enjoyed it. And I think I spoke to you that week even about maybe even trying to get a demo lap, but that didn't happen. So I had to come and have a proper go the next year.
Like I say, Peter's off. So obviously Peter knew about the TT so much, whereas like Joe, you'd never been here before, had you? Before we tipped up here in September or October, was it the first time I met you? So obviously everyone starts at different places, does different racing. Like Adam had always done short circuits. Joey had always done short circuits. Where as we got the likes of Adam here, for instance, he's come from the Irish road scene, haven't you?
My past couple of years have been racing over an Irish road, so really I've done everything apart from the TT, so obviously it was a natural progression on us to come here.
Yeah, I don't know any of the people have ever been to any Irish roads, the real national road races. I mean, the Ironman's TT course is like a motorway compared to some of the national road races. They are proper narrow and scratchy, and Adam again is just naturally taken to the faster, flowier circuits. I mean, Adam, you did the Ulster Grand Prix last year, was it? That's correct, yeah. And I knew Adam did a really good time at the Ulster, and I thought, yeah, he's going to be natural, because the next best place to here, I always thought, was the Ulster Grand Prix. It's beautiful, it's flowy, it's fast, it's smooth. It's a bit like a short circuit as well. You're in a mass start, whereas here, for me, that was the best thing about the TT course was that you're on your own. It was like your own personal racetrack. I mean, I still don't believe it now when you're going out and there's like thousands of people by the side of the track, and you think, shit, they're all here to watch me. It's just, whereas in a mass start race, you don't tend to notice the crowd, maybe because you're further away, I suppose, but you don't notice the crowd, whereas here you tend to notice the crowd, everyone hanging out the hedge, and especially when you're going well, they'll all start waving at you and hanging boards out for you, and it's like, geez, it's a real good feeling and stuff. So, but like I say, I knew Adam was going to be good because he's bouncing off the hedges at the Skerries, and that for me, when I did the Skerries for a couple of years, that scared me. I was like, oh no, I don't want that. That's not. If you want that, you can have it. Whereas here, it just felt a bit more natural to me. So everyone likes it. Again, everyone's different. Everyone, starts at a different point. But generally, as a rule, everyone just generally gets to the same point when they get a bit more familiar with it. They all sort of start getting good. So, I mean, obviously, Peter's riding BSB, aren't you, Pete? Yeah, so Pete's riding BMW BSB, and where are you running the championship at the moment?
Well, up until the last round before coming here, which was round 3, I was 5th in the championship. I got to 8th in the last race, although I actually had a 5th and a 7th or something like that. But I'm only 10 points away from 4th in the championship, which is Josh Brooks, so it's all to play for still in the Brute Superbike Championship. But a different thing for me is when you say everyone comes here and starts at different points. I've been racing in the Brute Superbike Championship since 2006, and in the Championship since 2004, so I rode 1,000 in 2004. I missed the first round because I was 16. You have to be 17 to race 1,000 in the UK. And I've been racing 1,000cc bikes for 10 years before I came here. People don't realise how much you would actually learn over them 10 years. Like, I learned so much about, especially a big bike. The big bikes are so different to the 600s and the lightweight stuff. And you learn about short shifting properly and why and how that makes the bike not only calmer and easier to ride, but also actually faster as well. So when I came here, after having 10 years worth of riding big bikes and 8 of them on the actual proper superbikes, it made my first year a lot easier, I think. So I think a lot of people forget that. So that was something for me that made a big difference to myself, is the level that I was riding at and had been riding at for a long time was so high when I came here. And as Joe's already said, you brake a lot earlier here and run through the corner. It's an easier style of riding. I'm not saying the riding's slower, I'm not saying it's easier to do, it's an easier style of riding. Which is why people, when they go short circuit, you look at Michael Dunlop for instance, when he comes to the British Superbike Championship, everyone expects him to be top 5, and he struggles to make the top 20. So it's just because it's a completely different way of riding. And to be able to switch between one and the other is very difficult, and that's why you tend to get people that can do one or the other. Not very many people can actually do both, because you have to adapt so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing I always tell the lads as well. It's a bit the way I class it in music terms. It's like short circuits like thrash metal, like, rah, 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 whereas TT's like classical music. It's all fast and flowy. It's super fast. You know, you're doing almost 200 miles an hour, but it's real rhythmical. You've got to get into you'll hear the boys say, "Oh, I just didn't get into my rhythm today." It's literally, you've got to get into your rhythm and just relax and let it flow through the corners and just hit apex to apex to apex. And whereas on the short circuit, it's so fast and frenetic, you've got to ride aggressively and get your elbows out there. So you're a bit brutal and stuff. Whereas here, if you ride like that here, you end up going backwards. And so again, the lads have to learn a different technique of riding. You know, not only are they riding on their own, again, these lads have been used to riding. Even Adam on the Irish roads, they don't start individually, they all start together as a mass start. So that's the hard thing as well, is starting on your own, being on your own, with no one around you. So you've got to push yourself on, but also the way you ride, and also the bumps. The lads have never ridden on such a bumpy track. You know, Adam probably has, been doing national roads, Jesus. But the likes of Joey, for instance, you know, he's never ridden on such a bumpy track, you know, and so that's really hard to get used to that as well. How to ride the bike over the bumps, you know, that's the thing. You've got to get up your body weight off your ass, and not just use your foot pegs, and it's a bit like a motocross bike, and use your legs and arms as suspension. You know, you just don't sit there like a bag of spuds because you just can't hang on. So you've got to work the bike a lot more here, even though it's rhythmical. You've still got to be very physically turning the bike, because the bike doesn't want to turn. As you probably all ride motorbikes in this room, and you know yourself when it's on the power, the thing doesn't want to turn. You've literally got to, if you want to keep the throttle on, you've got to muscle the thing around, you know. So it's quite hard and difficult for the lads to again go from what they're used to completely changing the riding style, to learning the track. There's just so much going on, and ultimately that's why I say to them, in the winter, that's why you've got to watch the DVDs. You've got to have it in your brain so that you know instantly where you are on the track at any particular time. If you get into trouble, I mean that's the biggest thing. So Adam, what's the hardest thing you found about the TT?
Adjusting to the speed of the whole thing. That was in the mental side of it too. Like I'm used to doing sprint races on an Irish road, 20 minutes, half an hour long, whereas here your level of concentration is so high for an hour and 15 minutes. So I think just the mental side of it was a big struggle, but it was good to get my first race over me, and I know what's ahead of me for the rest of the week.
Now, obviously, you boys have both ridden 600s, and again, it's one thing I always like to say to lads: ride the bike that you're used to riding, because what tends to happen is, you say you're going to go to the TT, and the local fella down the street says, well, you can ride my production bike, or my stocker and stuff, and if the boys have never ridden the stocker before, it would just be, again, another thing more difficult to learn. So that's why when they said that they just wanted to ride the 600 and what they were used to, these lads are used to riding and revving the 600s out. It was perfect. You know, like Peter when he first came, he came on 1,000 because he was used to riding 1,000. And ultimately, again, it's like putting an old set of gloves on. You know, you know what it feels like. It fits your hand nicely. Everyone's again probably bought new gloves and gone, oh Jesus, these feel horrible. And it's just the same when you're on the bike that you know and the bike you ride every day of the week. It's beautiful. You know, it's just a bit like your girlfriend, isn't it? You know, it's a bit like your wife and your girlfriend. Your wife is predictable. You know what to expect. Whereas with a girlfriend, it's like, whoa, fine. So that's why again the lads, you know, have ridden the 600 stuff and they've done really well. So I mean, Peter, you've obviously had a real good week so far. I mean, podiums again. Do you mean so? Do you think you can go one step further? Do you think you can win?
Do you know what? That is what I've been told the most after yesterday. Everyone's going, oh, you've had a third, you've had a second, you just got one more to go now, and that must have been said to me 50 times since yesterday afternoon now. But it is what it is, you know. I mean, I've said all the way along, I've never pushed to try and get a podium. I've never pushed to try and win a race as such, especially not up until really the senior of last year. So I did, you know, nearly 3 full years before I've actually thought, right, I'm actually going to dig in a little bit here and have a go. And I did that in the senior last year. I was up into third at the bungalow on the second lap. I was 11 seconds in front of fourth or something, and the engine let go. So that was that kind of thing done last year. But come out this year and we've had a lack of practice, which is the same for everyone. But it plays into the hands of the real experienced guys. You know, the experience counts for so much around here. And I'm still really relatively quite inexperienced. So it makes a difference there, but the races on Sunday and then yesterday went really well. The Supersport race was a bit of a surprise podium for me. I'm quite a big lad for a 600 for a start. You know, I'm only 6'2", and I've never even really ridden a 600 ever. The first time I rode one properly was in 2015 here, and then I've done the Ulster that year on one. Last year I did the Northwest here and the Ulster again, and then since the Ulster last year, the Northwest is the first time I rode the 600 again. So it's all a bit new to me, the whole 600 thing, and you have to ride it so different again. These boys are a bit more used to it than I am, but again, that's another thing. These boys are more than likely much faster riding on a 600 than what I am, but because I've got a lot more experience now around here, I'm much faster, and that's just knowledge. That's all that is, you know. So it makes a big difference. But if I can win a race, I'll be absolutely ecstatic, obviously. But if I'm somewhere near the front, then I will be happy.
Yeah, I mean, in that superbike race, I think it was on about the 5th lap or something. You were really pushing on, you were really closing down, and I thought, here we go. Peter's on with this. He's on with this. He's catching. And obviously, I think did you get caught by a bit of traffic there? Did you? Or?
No, not really actually. I think on the last lap I was something like 11 seconds behind when we went across the grandstand, something like that. In fact, that's another thing. I've never had pit boards until this year. This year's the first time I've ever had pit boards. Just because I didn't want to be pushed into going faster than what I felt I was comfortable with. Like I knew that if I was told, oh, you're in 7th place but you're only half a second off 6th, even though I was a rookie, I'd want to push to go to 6th. So I said no pit boards from anyone, and just let me run my own race. I'll find out where I finish at the end, and that's what I've done up until this year. But on the last lap, I knew at Ballycrane it was something around 8 or around 10 seconds ish. And then by Ramsey, I think it was down to 1.6. So I was on for something close, but Hutchie's really strong over the mountain. We all know that, he always has been. But the good thing for me was I still felt like I was still learning the mountain. I'm still learning things this year. I was definitely the fastest I've been over the mountain. I actually lost just over 1 second on him to the bungalow. So for me, I was actually quite happy with that. And I actually ran out of fuel towards the crest, hence where the other 4 seconds came from, or 3 seconds. So I'm actually quite quietly reserved about that and quite happy really. So we'll have to wait and see what Friday brings.
Peter, how does that change what you do in the race then when you realise, okay, well, hey, listen, I've got 6 seconds or something and that I can make that up. And how do you then adjust what you do on the course to say, hey, listen, I'm going to try and do that?
Yeah, I suppose what's the best way of describing it? Everyone has a comfort limit where you think, right, I'm going to ride here and that's where I'm comfortable at. And then if you really want to, especially around here, I don't think, it's hard to say that people don't ride at 100%, they do, of course they do. but there's different levels of 100%. It's a bit hard to explain. So we'll probably ride it like, well, especially for me, I'm always really reserved on the first sector of the first lap, and that's probably what's hurt me a bit this week with my races. Like both races on Sunday and yesterday in Supersport, I was 7th to the first sector, and lost already 5 or 6 seconds.
Is that just getting comfortable with where you're at?
That's for me.
Then
yeah.
you settle into it?
Exactly that. I don't like pushing flat out straight away. So for me, I would rather go a little bit steadier, make sure everything's all right. We all know it's a dangerous place. So I just like to make sure everything's all right, and then I'll go. Whereas the experienced guys or the other guys are just going flat immediately, and they've already got a gap, whereas I kind of build into it. But that pit board thing I'm always getting faster. Throughout the race, I'll always get faster. I always have done, and I'm pretty sure I always will do. So I always know that lap 5 and lap 6 is going to be my strong point. And when you see the pit board and you're getting closer and closer and closer, it edges you on more and more, and you just go, right, I'm just going to push a bit more. I'm going to use a bit more road here. I'm going to use a bit more road over there. You know where you've got space, if that makes sense. So if you want to use that space, then you'll use it. If you don't need to use that space, you won't use it. I suppose that's probably a better way of describing it rather than in percentages, is you'll ride fast and as fast as you want to go, but with a little bit in reserve. And then if you need to, then you can push past that reserve.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that I know when I was riding, it was always a case of your brain goes into self-preservation mode. So you come to a corner and you've got the throttle on, and your brain's going, slow down, you idiot, slow down, slow down. So it's turning your wrist off, and you've just got to go, no, I need to keep it on a little bit longer. And just little things like that where, like people saying, some of the key corners that you're coming to, you've just got to think, actually, I'm a second in it here, I just want to keep it on. And Peter mentioned about pit boards. For me, pit boards were so important. I just raced from pit board to pit board. I wasn't racing a lap as such. My laps were from one pit board to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And I would always watch what my time was doing and control, again, if you're leading, you can control your time by that, again, by coming to places like Ballygarry, Quarry Bends, and knowing that you can just, if you're down time, you've just got to hang it out a little bit, whereas if not, you can just take a little bit easier, a bit more comfort, like Pete says, just give yourself a little bit more road room and not scratching in the gutters or anything. I mean, you don't want to be, around here's not the sort of place you want to be bouncing off curbs and walls every lap, it's not like BSB where you push, crash and go, oh well, I'll just not push so much this next lap, next time I go out, you've got to give yourself a bit of room and, again, self-preservation, really. So, but, Adam, how did you feel about being here, setting off on your own and stuff? Did that feel really funny to start with?
No, I actually quite enjoyed setting off my own. It's just my own sort of style. Like to do my own thing, ride my own race, and get into a rhythm. So setting off my own suited me quite well. I was happy enough.
What about you, Joe? Did you find that alright, or was it weird for you?
Yeah, setting off on your own, it's a lot different to everything you're used to. I'm a bit the same as Peter. I don't really like to push straight away from the start. I'd like to, make sure everything's up to temperature and bed your tyres in a bit more so they're not still shiny and But that's like in the first race, I saw a couple of guys in front of me and I thought, nah, I'm gonna beat you. But then I didn't see which way they went. But that was on the first lap, and then I saw the guy coming out of Ramsey hairpin. I had a quick, not a look over your shoulder, but you can see out the corner of your eye if anyone's catching you. And I saw two people. So one of them's caught me from 20 seconds back, and after that, I kind of, shaped up a bit. And then eventually, I caught the guys that did set off in front of me. But the first half of that first lap, I was terribly slow.
I think generally what happens with a newcomer as well is when you come across somebody that they're caught on the road, because they haven't got the knowledge on the circuit, they're not 100% certain to do a pass, so it's like, so they tend to get stalled then behind the person. They're caught 20-30 seconds on them, but they haven't got the knowledge to get up the inside of them in case, because they're a little bit unwary. You probably found that, boys, did you?
I found definitely did, especially in practice, set off in pairs. And I stuck behind a boy in 1,000 the whole way to Balak. And I was a lot quicker than him, and I could have passed him places because I didn't have the knowledge. I just thought, right, I'll wait till we get into Black Village and then I can outbreak him because I knew that was safe enough. Whereas, as you say, I didn't have the knowledge to pass him anywhere before that.
What about you?
Yeah, it's quite hard, especially in practice when you're out with the bigger bikes, because usually if in a 600 race you can just carry a bit more corner speed, get into the slipstream, pass them safely down, you know, a bit of part of the track where you know that's safe and flat out. But when you're behind 1,000, they just pull away. So you've got to, you can't be aggressive round here. So you just got to know where you can overtake and just make sure you follow it through the first time. Otherwise, you'll be sat behind them for, you never know, the next 10 miles.
To be fair, I'm actually still really reserved when it comes to pass people, even in the Superbike race on Sunday. I caught someone at the bottom, near the bottom of Bagara, and I carried a bit more speed. I thought,